Thanks, Abdusalam, for the background report. To begin our conversation, guests are already seated in the studio with us. And yes, we have one in our Jos studio, and we have one with us right here in Abuja. And of course, another guest joining us via Zoom. But with us here is Chris Mayake, the Acting Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, sir.
Thank you very much for this invitation, and Happy New Year.
Same
Happy
to
New
you.
Compliments of the season. It's a pleasure to have you.
All right, joining us from Zoom, via Zoom, is Professor Tanko Ishaya, the Vice Chancellor, University of Jos. Professor Ishaya, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, and good morning, Nigeria. Good morning to you all.
Good morning and compliments of the season. And from our Jos studio, we have Dr. Emmanuel Ande Ivogba, Education Thematic Lead, Executive Director, Center for Faith and Community Development. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, and compliments of the season. Compliments of the season.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, let's get the ball rolling now. Let's begin with Mr. Chris Mayake here in the studio. Let's have your insight into this trending situation. You know, it came like an earthquake. You know, shaking the foundation of the education sector in Nigeria. Let's have your insight into what's going on right now.
You mean the certificate racketeering across our borders?
Across the borders.
Well, let me once again.
And some say within the country too.
Well, let me thank you once again for extending this invitation for us to have the opportunity to clarify and to educate the public as to the burning issue. I think over the years, the National Universities Commission and indeed the education family has been confronted, or has been confronting, as it were, the issue of academic corruption. I don't think the picture that is created as if it is something that has just dropped from the skies, I don't think it is soundly based, because if the past is in the eyes of the present, you will know that side by side, legality and illegality have existed from time immemorial. And therefore, even the educational system is not insulated from this notorious fact. And to hear that, you know, a student, you know, obtained his degree across the border is nothing new.
In 6 weeks.
In 6 weeks,
it's new.
No. It's nothing new, because over the years, as I said, the National Universities Commission has been confronted by these issues, and we have also over the years, you know, as a responsible, you know, flagship regulatory agency, we have responded and reacted as an institution to some of these issues over the years. And I hope in the course of this discussion I will be able to share the steps taken over the years, you know, for us to confront this matter headlong. So there's nothing new, but the scale, you know, and the picture that has been painted is what is also worrisome. I think the Nigerian educational brand is still one that is unique, that is remarkable. I have had the privilege of, you know, participating in a presidential scholarship scheme in the recent years, and wherein we awarded scholarships to first-class Nigerian graduates who came out of this same system, who went out there to the top 25 or 50 universities in the world, the Ivy Leagues, as you may call them, and came out with distinction. So even out of the ashes, we're proud to say that the Nigerian educational brand, its reputation is still one that is in the ascendancy if you compare with other African countries.
Nobody is questioning the educational brand, really. We're questioning certificates.
Yes.
That's the issue. The fact that, you know, that we have Nigerians who are brilliant and doing great around the world and even in this country is not questionable. Mm-hmm. But having people operate in this country, because most times when you get such certificates, you come back to the country to operate. And let me also inform you, and I'm sure you're aware, that even in Nigeria, people get such certificates every day. Some don't even go to school. They go to printing press, and then they get it printed. Okay, so if you say it's not new, what are you doing about it? Because a situation whereby I go to school for 4 years, all right, get a degree, and then somebody else just goes to a printing press and gets certificates, or goes to a university outside the country, and this person is going to be treated as international students, all right, and probably get a better job than me. I mean, what are you doing about that?
Well, and why was it not brought to the fore if you said it has been happening and it's not something new?
Well, in the year 2000, the National Universities Commission our attention was drawn to the proliferation of study centers, illegitimate satellite campuses, unapproved and unauthorized. And at that time, we commissioned a resource assessment to all these centers that were known to us. As a result of that action, we made recommendations to the Federal Executive Council, and the Federal Executive Council approved our recommendations to immediately, you know, close down and shut down these satellite campuses, unapproved degree awarding institutions operating in Nigeria. Subsequent to that, we were to issue joining instructions to the universities to comply immediately. In the intervening period, we have also constituted committees on illegal universities, headed by various professors. In fact, at the time, if you recall, the famous Fidelis Oyakilome, yes, who was a DIG and I think the ex-governor of Rivers State, we also engaged him because we wanted the full backing of the security agencies. And we have continued to fight this.
How successful has that fight been?
Oh,
you know, Mr. Miyake,
we have secured prosecutions. We have shut down illegal institutions. I have, if you read our Monday bulletin, every Monday we publish a bulletin, a very rich publication where we name and shame illegal institutions that have been shut down. We have obtained prosecutions. Some have gone to prison. Okay.
Some have gone to prison. You know, yes. I'm asking you how successful that has been because till date, sir, till date, we still have new universities that are springing up without accreditation.
I have told you that the notorious fact about human beings is that they will, legality and illegality will exist side by side. We are proud to say that the efforts have recorded huge successes as a regulatory agency. I'll give an example. When you, armed robbers know that when they are publicly executed, you think that's the end of it? You think so?
More armed robbers will come.
Yes, exactly, the following day. If you go to Singapore, if you go to Malaysia, if you go to Thailand, there's one definite statement about drug trafficking. It's death. You think that has brought to an end the issue of drug trafficking? And that is why I want you to attune yourself to the stark reality that whatever you do, the notorious fact about the human nature is that people will always, come out in one way or the other to make it impossible for you to sanitize the system. But on the whole, I'm telling you that Nigeria has one of the most robust regulatory ecosystem around the world. And this is well documented and it is well acknowledged.
Indeed, we're all products of this, educational system in Nigeria, because I got gray hair just studying mass communication, the way they dealt with me. Good. Now, let's bring in Professor Tanko Ishaya, Vice Chancellor, University of Jos. He's on Zoom. And, a former Minister of Education, in this country, Professor Tunde Adeniran, said that degrees from foreign universities is a tragedy, fake degrees is a tragedy, undermining the Nigerian education system. That obsession over paper qualification shows deep flaws in societal values itself, and attributed it to the nation's endemic corruption. I would like to get your views on that. You're a vice chancellor of a university. You see how students go through the rigorous training, 5 years, some 4 years, including the strike. Some go for 7 years, and then they graduate, go for the service, and are walking the street looking for a job. And then somebody just goes to Benin Republic or Togo or Ghana and gets a degree in 1 month or 2 months and comes back to this country, serves the National Youth Service Corps, and gets a juicy job with that result. How does that make you feel?
Thank you very much. Actually, it makes us to feel very, very bad as a country, and also as a higher university system. But let me first of all appreciate Mr. Umar Shehu Audu, the undercover investigative journalist, who have actually done a very thorough job, to the end of it, and also, of course, appreciate the funders of that, kind of journalism, which is what I believe we need in this country. We need more investigative journalism in areas that affect our national development. Having said that, I believe that all over the world, there are always criteria for awarding a degree, and the criteria is actually universal. However, of course, we have now seen that some countries, and like the ES of NUC actually alluded earlier on, even in this country, there are some elements that would want to actually create illegalities in terms of having a process of obtaining an illegal certificate. And it is unfair, either international or either out of this country or within this country. But I think it's important to note, for me, it's important that this investigation and the previous investigations, what they have actually brought to this country is perhaps our overemphasis on certificate, on paper certificate for employment, or our overemphasis on paper certificate for every other thing. I think that as a country, we need to de-emphasize on paper qualifications, and also emphasize on the skills, demonstrable skills that individuals, more or less are expected to acquire through a particular program of a degree program. And I think that is one important aspect and one important point that I'd want to say with respect to this particular investigation. What used to happen, of course, sometimes is that this country has, at some point, really had a problem of access to higher education. But of course, the Nigerian university system has now improved, has grown exponentially from 5 universities in 1962 to today's figure of over 270 universities. So obviously, unless, of course, someone is very crafty, there's no reason now when someone should go to Togo or any other country, to be able to get a degree in 6 weeks. It is not possible anywhere in the world for someone to actually, acquire a degree within, a non-stipulated period of time that one is expected to acquire a degree. So we await, of course, and I don't think that we are blanking the whole countries, Togo, Benin Republic and other countries for their university systems, because we know that illegalities, happen, like the ES said, even within the legal systems. We are waiting for further investigations with respect to how, and what actually those universities are doing. It may be very possible that there are individuals in the university who are perpetuating this kinds of unacceptable activities, unacceptable behaviors, and that is one of the things that we are obviously expecting to see. Like our regulator, the NUC Executive Secretary, actually just said earlier on, as far as this country is concerned, we have clarity, we have clear regulations with respect to universities operating. We know, universities that have acquired licenses. We know universities that have been created by government, and I think it is very, very important that the NUC continue to provide, the information that the country needs in order to continue to ensure that the quality of education and the integrity of education in Nigeria is upheld.
Thanks, Professor Ishaya, for your response to that question. But I'm going to stay with you now, and I'm going to be asking you because you have said that the NUC is doing its best. But I want to ask what the universities are doing. I want to let's focus on Nigeria now. We understand that even in some Nigerian universities, we have lecturers, professors who work there and who are also involved in deals like this, having people probably maybe registered in the schools but never attend classes or anything. At the end of the day, they give them certificates. We're also aware that some universities run unaccredited programs. I'm not just talking about private universities now. Government universities, federal universities, state government universities running unaccredited programs. Students, go through the rigors of the school, 4 years, 5 years. At the end of the day, you're told, oh, you can't serve, oh, it has not been accredited. So many stories in the educational system. Could you please speak to some of these issues?
Okay. Thank you very much. Indeed, there are a lot of challenges even in the Nigerian education system, higher education system. Of course, there are a variety of claims about the factors that account for for some of those challenges. Indeed, if I just come straight to your point, is that I believe that all Nigerian university systems the universities that are supposed to run particular programs should have their programs accredited by NUC. And of course, NUC's responsibility is to also ensure that programs that are run in the country obtain accreditation. However, I think it is important to probably explain the process of accreditation. When a program begins, when the university decides to start a program, that program may not be accredited head-on. That program undergoes certain processes, certain years. NUC will go for resource verification, while the program is actually running. But by the time that the students of that program, if it is a new program, graduates, it is expected that NUC should have actually accredited that particular program. So I think when we say that universities are running programs that are not accredited, I think we need to contextualize the process and the stage at which that particular program is. Secondly, when a program is denied accreditation, for example, by denying accreditation, it means that university is not expected to admit any student on that program until it is accredited. So the universities will continue to work with the students that are on ground, to remedy the situation in order to gain accreditation, so that those students who were more or less admitted before the accreditation process, graduates, and then ensuring that actually by the time they graduate, the program is accredited. So I think it's important to really understand this process. So there may be a point in time where a program is actually not accredited, but the university is working towards ensuring that the accreditation, that the program gains accreditation. So that is one thing that I just need to explain on that particular aspect of the accreditation process.
Many thanks, Professor Ishaya. I will definitely get back to you, of course, as we move on, talking about this particular issue. Dr. Emmanuel Ivogba is in our JOS studio. You have been following the conversation. I'm sure you listened to the ES, and you also listened to the Vice Chancellor of University of JOS there. I'd like to get your take on this particular issue. What really is the cause of this problem, people running to get certificates, even in the country, even when you're in a registered program, even when you're in a registered institution? Some people just find a way to pay their way through, just in the bid to get the paper. How did we get here? What really is the problem, in your own view?
Thank you very much. I think just like the Vice Chancellor of the University of JOS has just said, I think we have an obsession for certificate. We have a very strong obsession for anything foreign. It will surprise you to know that despite the fact that we produce high-quality yams, for example, here in Nigeria, if you go to Cameroon and bring yams, Nigerians will prefer the yams from Cameroon. That is how bad it is. So I think the problem with our educational system in Nigeria has been there for quite a long time. What is happening now is because of the report of the journalists, which actually has put Nigeria into what I would call public shame. And the actions we are seeing now are just in response to this. But there is a lot more, I think, that is going on apart from the obsession with certificates. And I think we need to put this in clear context. Nigeria's population is about, maybe conservatively, 200 million. And for this population, we have just about 270 universities. That throws the challenge of access already. We are very much aware of how difficult it is for students to get admission into Nigerian universities these days. A student finishes secondary school writing NECO and WAEC. That student is subjected to also writing JAM. I think this is another topic for discussion entirely. And after JAM, you have post-UME. And a lot of students who are graduating from secondary schools cannot get admission into many of these universities. And therefore, students who are looking for education have to look elsewhere. This is why many of them are going to small countries. Imagine a country like Nigeria. Our students are running to small countries like Benin, to Togo, and to Cameroon to have access to university education. So I think the problem is bigger than what we are seeing now. We need to address the issue of access first before we look at the issue of the obsession for certificates. Another thing I really want to bring forward is because this thing is happening in Benin and Togo, I think we are saying so much. Who are those who own universities in those countries? If you go to Benin or Togo now, most of the universities there are owned by Nigerians. I can tell you, we have done some studies and we have discovered that in Benin, that has a population of about 13 million people. They have about between 37 to 40 universities. And most of these universities are owned by Nigerians. So if we are talking about certificate racketeering that we see happening, who are those who are perpetrating it? In fact, 2 weeks before these incidents came up, I made a post on my Facebook page talking about PhD degrees. And I jokingly said, if you obtain a PhD within 1 year, please go and tear that certificate and throw it away. Stop joking and go to school properly. I made that post because of what we discovered. So if you go to some of these countries today, imagine a PhD you can finish within 1 year. But it will take you about 5, 6, 7 years sometimes to acquire a PhD here in Nigeria. So I think we have to look at what is happening in Benin as Nigerians actually exporting our bad behavior to these small countries. I'm sorry to say that, because most of these universities in Benin and Togo are either owned by Nigerians or managed directly by Nigerians. You can do your investigation again and see. The facts are there. So if we are blaming Benin and Togo, we should look inward. And this is why I'm not very happy about the noise that is going on at the moment regarding this issue. We need to look inward before we start blaming our neighboring countries for what is happening. We are the ones who are actually exporting this bad behavior. There is a lot going on in our universities here, like you said, but we don't want to say it. There are lots of people who stay at home, register in universities, but they never attend classes, yet they obtain certificates. So what we have just done is we have succeeded in teaching our neighbors in the smaller countries what is happening here. You cannot throw bones to a dog and expect that dog not to eat the bones. We need to look inward to make sure that, one, the issue of access is addressed so that Nigerian young people who are looking for education do not have to go to these small countries. There are not enough universities in this country to absorb or to take care of the number of young people who are looking for higher education. They are not there. And even those that are available, as I said earlier, it is very, very difficult. I also know that from studies we have done, you will see let's take, for example, the University of Jos. You have about 1 million or 2 million young people applying for admission. At the end of the day, less than 1 million of them will be admitted that year. What happens to the others? It becomes a problem. They have to look elsewhere to get education. Another challenge too, for you to get a first degree here in Nigeria, you spend a minimum of 4 years, depending on the kind of course you are taking. But you go to Benin Republic, in 3 years, you already graduate. In 3 years, you can do journalism or mass communication or business administration. In 3 years, you are already a graduate. And then you come back to do youth service with the same students who spent 4 years here. That is already injustice. So there are a lot of things that we need to deal with internally before we begin to blame our neighboring countries for what is happening. I think this is my view on that.
Dr. Emmanuel, there are a lot of things that we need to look into, and you talked about skill acquisition here in Nigeria, and our concentration on degrees, and like somebody working in an office, he maybe has a diploma, and then he knows everything. They bring in a graduate, he teaches the graduate, he teaches the graduate what to do, he shows him what to do, and he's not promoted because he does not have a degree. And then now this graduate becomes his boss. And then when he sits down and thinks about it, people say there's no smoke without fire. If you can go to Cotonou or Togo and go and bring a degree, a lot of them do that, bring a degree maybe after 1 year or so, and then so that he can be promoted to the level that he deserves. Don't you think that our concentration, on degrees, on certification itself is causing a lot of problems? Because developed countries are not looking at certificates now. They are looking at what can you do? What can you offer to my organization? How can you help the organization grow? Let's have your take on that.
It's also very, very true, and I agree with you completely. Our obsession for certificate is one of the biggest challenges that we have in this country. People are looking for the corner offices, so they want certificates that can give them the jobs in the corner offices. But the jobs that produce the corner offices themselves, people are not interested. This is why we have a lot of polytechnics here, but young people are not interested in going to polytechnics. Because again, I think this is a challenge within the education sector that I believe the authorities have been trying to deal with. The dichotomy between the university certificate and the polytechnic certificate. So if you have a degree and then you have a HND from a polytechnic, the one with the degree will be considered. I think this is also a problem in itself. We need to de-emphasize this focus on university certificate. It is very, very important, but the skills are even more important. And it takes me to even the national policy on education and how this policy is implemented in the classroom. If we look at that document, in fact, Nigeria has beautiful documents in every sector. especially within the education sector. You see that a lot. And there are what we call learning domains in education. The affective domain, the cognitive domain, the psychomotor. And if you go to places like in the West, we even talk about the interpersonal domain. Now, this is what is happening in the society today is a product of what is being implemented in the classroom, even in terms of the national policy on education. So if you go to whether secondary schools today or universities today, it is the same thing. There is so much emphasis on cognitive ability development. So we keep on stuffing students with knowledge so that they can graduate and get the certificates and get the job. But we don't bother so much on providing them with the skills. One of the things that we've been worried about, you know, as civil society actors, is what we talk about education for self-reliance. And this is also a big problem. We need a lot of time to even expand on this. But in the 21st century, education for self-reliance is no longer sustainable. We need education that will provide young people with the skills, the social skills for interdependence. So this is where the focus also needs to change, to de-emphasize certificate. I think in terms of employment, when people are employed, we should be able to consider if they have the necessary skills for the job, instead of focusing too much on the certificate. I think this will reduce the craze that we are seeing all over the place.
Many thanks, Dr. Ivogba. We'll get back to you, but let's engage Mr. Mayaki now. He's been smiling, listening to you give your response to some of the questions. I'm sure you want to respond to some of the comments made by Ivogba, but why do you respond to that? I would like to find out. You already mentioned that, well, illegality would find a way to thrive, in every sector, in every system. But the NUC is there to ensure that this illegality does not, if you like, overwhelm legality. Because the way it is going...
It hasn't. It hasn't overwhelmed... illegality hasn't overwhelmed legality.
Okay, fine. If it hasn't overwhelmed, can you tell us really what the NUC intends to do in solving this problem? I'm asking because, initially when you were responding and saying, well, you try to stop these institutions from existing. Let me just give a simple example. On your way, for example, to Kefi, that expressway, you will find so many institutions that are like secondary schools with, all kinds of colleges, universities, and all that. And then you ask yourself, is the NUC really seeing this? That's just one expressway. Again, across the country.
Again, can I say this? Yes. Again, I want you to operate on a very cautionary note. The picture you're painting, that route, Kefi to Jos, this is my route I follow. I don't think it is the magnitude, the danger of heightening apprehension is what I don't want to drive this discussion.
Okay.
What we do as the National Universities Commission, if we have been prompted, if an illegal or unauthorized or illegitimate degree awarding institution is identified, we depend on the community, we depend on the public to to alert the National Universities Commission through signboards, sometimes advertisements for admissions. We receive that from time to time. And as I said, we have a properly constituted committee on degree mills headed by a senior advocate of Nigeria, a former vice chancellor in his own right. And we swing into action in collaboration with the law enforcement agencies. You make it sound like every kilometer there's a signboard. No. I want you to, don't escalate the matter out of proportion.
I think I'm going to count the next time I fly that road.
No, exactly. No, you can't. Honestly, we can actually do a joint patrol together because we need to be very objective. We need to, I don't want us leaving the most important things at the mercy of the least important. Yes. And therefore, as educated people with exposure, we need to convey the right
Message.
message to the public. This is what, that's why I say you should operate on a cautionary note. I also want to let you know that the investigation, directed by the Honorable Minister of Education is still ongoing. It's in its incubation. And I would rather not speculate, and let us await, let us not be preemptory, let us await the outcome of this investigation. It is one that we have placed a lot of premium on, and let's see what the outcome statement will be. You'll be surprised what the results will be. And this is why it is good to do a forensic audit, to be very scientific, to be very constructive, rather than being flowery, rather than being preemptory, okay? And allow the investigation to take its full course, and I'm sure we will unravel, a lot more. And I want to also say this, that there's nothing wrong with the clamor for university certificate. Absolutely, because as you well know, university education all over the world is at the heart of our opportunities. Your life choices as individuals, as a community, as a country will always gravitate, around the educational investments you make in a human. It's a game-changing opportunity, and that's why there's a clamor. So I just want to say that there's nothing wrong with the clamor, but the way and manner
it is done
is what we need to grapple with. The illegality, whether it is within or outside Nigeria, is one matter that has continued to engage our minds. And I want to also say that the parity of esteem between the HND and the degree, I don't think there's a problem. The HND is a very clear, the curricular characteristics of a HND are very clear. Manpower, skills based, at a certain level. Whereas the degree has its own place. Like we always joke about it, the university is a unique animal, wherein you can actually progress from the BSc to the MSc and then obtain the PhD at the highest level of critical thinking. And each of these streams of education have their roles over time. If you look at the history of the world, all the technological revolution, the breakthroughs over the years, the universities, the polytechnics have had their own roles. I don't think we're operating at cross purposes. We're actually complementing. And there are definite steps for a HND holder, to transit to you can obtain a master's degree by doing a bridging program.
Yeah, the PhD.
You can go and do a PhD if you feel very strongly, if you want to, to obtain a degree. It's very clear, even in the career progression. I just want to say that the picture is not that gloomy, as you are painting it.
Yes.
And I want to also say that if you follow the recent developments at the National Universities Commission, we haven't just been resting on our oars. We recently launched our core curriculum and minimum academic standards. And you well know that curriculum is the mainstay. It is the foundation for any educational enterprise, any educational development. That's where you define all the modules, the subject areas, the delivery methods from beginning till the end. And I want to proudly say that if you look at the quality assurance ecosystem of Nigeria, we have one of the most robust, and we have even helped other African countries to set up. Genuinely.
Yes.
Like
the Gambia.
The Gambia,
yes.
Namibia, we have collaborated with South Africa, with Kenya, and Nigeria is, has continued to participate in all the regional, quality assurance activities at the sub-regional and the regional, even at the level of UNESCO, because qualification, verification and recognition is a global matter. What value do I attach to the certificate that is coming from the United Kingdom, for instance, from the United States of America, from Ghana, from Benin Republic? And we have all those, well structured, and you spoke about unaccredited programs. We have been very resolute as the National Universities Commission. We have shut down, we have denied accreditation. If we find you to be persistently falling below the standards as prescribed, we conduct accreditation, periodically. And if we find you persistently non-performing, we stop you from admitting. We've done that. Even big universities like the University of Nigeria, University of Ibadan, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria have been sanctioned. Even UNIMED have been sanctioned to tell you that we have a very robust and very purposeful and very tough regulatory ecosystem. But I also said human beings, legality and illegality will exist side by side, even with the best of intentions.
Exactly.
And I want to underscore the fact that the illegality, has not, overwhelmed the reputational capital of the Nigerian educational brand.
Okay, talking about the probe set up by the Honorable Minister, Professor Imam, he said he should submit the report in 3 months. Do you think 3 months is enough to dig into this scandal and bring out...
It is. It could even be earlier.
Okay.
What do we need to do? We need to just look at the layers of authorization, of recognition. This university that is said to be operating in the Republic of Benin, we need to double check with the authorities, the competent authorities.
And the registrar of that school, I hear, is a Nigerian.
When you say, I heard the conclusions, that the statement that these institutions are established, are owned by Nigerians, only the investigation will reveal. I don't want to dabble into any preemptory action, because when the results come out and they do not lend credence to the speculation, then you will doubt your approach to matters of this nature.
Because experts are, calling for more robust law with harsh penalties for people with these certificates.
Again, there is an inhibition.
Okay.
There's a restriction. The laws of Nigeria cannot extend beyond the borders of Nigeria. It's a matter of extraterritoriality. Benin Republic cannot come and define which university or which program is authentic in Nigeria. They have to depend on a competent authority like the National University.
But what about the certificate? So what if someone who has a certificate and is in Nigeria...
If you have a structured system of running an academic program like you have in Nigeria, before the university must be seen to be approved by the National Universities Commission, whether it is private, whether it is state-owned, whether it is federal. There is a process of granting recognition and license. And then we have to give you the stamp of authority to mount any program. And then we undertake the resource assessment. The resource assessment is a very serious business of, ascertaining the quantity and the quantum and the quality of resources available. Human, material, that ecosystem, including ICT, that enables you to mount a program. And like the Vice Chancellor of the University of Jos mentioned, when a program matures, it is eligible for, accreditation. We now constitute experts, subject experts, that visit those universities. We have a checklist. We look at the staffing, we look at the learning resources available, the academic areas, the general ecosystem, and we issue a pronouncement. And there are definite consequences for persistent non-performance.
So from what you're
saying... And there is a reward, for also good performance.
Okay, now, from what you're saying, those who go to these institutions, in other parts of Africa or even outside Africa, to get some of these substandard certificates, if you like, so there will be no way to check them? That's really my question.
Oh, yes.
Would there be a way to check?
Of course.
And then if you already have people in the system who got the certificates in that means...
They can be fished out. We have a viral division at the National Universities Commission that deals with qualifications, that deals with evaluation, that deals with, equivalence. Because you see, certification is a derivative of the extant benchmark, minimum academic standards or the curriculum. So we have a viral department. In the Ministry of Education, there's also an arm of the ministry that verifies certificates. So it is easy to verify. And what we do every day, we have inquiries from the public, from overseas. Even some, you know, there was a case of a university in the U.S. that had issues with even the nomenclature of the MBBS. They write us, we respond, we authenticate. We said yes, and we have also issued statements where we have found, you know, a case of or cases of illegality.
You know, I'm asking this about the certificates because, you know, according to this reporter, his certificate had the original seal of that university.
Yes.
Now, when you're trying to authenticate, of course, you check the seal, and I'm sure if you communicate to university, they tell you, oh, well, this person graduated from here, even when the person didn't go through the actual process. So how can that be detected?
The best way, the onus, there's a heavy moral duty, moral burden on the competent authorities in the country of origin. You have to depend on them, because you can't also use your own law, because it will amount to extraterritoriality. Like I said, if a student goes to Ghana and presents the certificate of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, the Ghanaian counterparts will write, the NUC will write Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. And I assure you, it is very easy to verify. I went to ABU Zaria. If you go to ABU Zaria, you see my record there. No matter how long it takes, if we have a system of record keeping, you know, you will be able to fish out, you know, this fraudulent elements. And like I said, legality, illegality has not overwhelmed legality. We still have a robust, a very trustworthy, you know,
system.
System. Believe me, you need to travel out of this country and you see how much Nigerians and Nigerian academics have gained a lot of respect and reputation all over the world. Go and see what Nigerians are doing.
Yes.
And that's why I said I don't want us to allow pockets of fraudulent persons and experiences and circumstances
the image of
exactly to overwhelm.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
This is not the picture.
Yes, we all know that the Nigerian education system is one of the best in the world. We've seen our students go out there, come out with first class, breaking glass ceilings in so many fields. And growing up, there was a scramble to teach in Nigeria. You know, we had teachers from Canada, from America. I remember in my class, we were only like 7 blacks. All my classmates were whites, and I didn't get to have a black teacher until I got to SS1 then. From 1 to, from 3, all my teachers were white, Indians, Bangladesh, Canadians, Americans, and
Many
all
years
that.
ago.
Yes, that was what I'm saying. We used to have that scramble to come and teach in Nigeria. There was people wanted to come and teach in Nigeria because of the system itself. Now, what is happening is not just an embarrassment, but it's damaging to the system as it is. And while acknowledging the need for transparency and accountability, others are calling that there should not also be a blanket ban on the certificates from some of these universities, from Togo, maybe to Ghana and all that.
May I react to that?
Yes. Before we go, so the same question will go to
That's why I said
Professor
the
Tanko Ishaya.
process of the suspension is a temporary suspension. I haven't seen anywhere where the ministerial directive has suggested that the suspension is ad infinitum. No. It is a legitimate humanistic process of unraveling the mystery, removing the seeds from the shaft, setting apart what is legal and what is illegal. And it is not intended, it's not a punitive move by government. I'm sure if you read the philosophy behind the investigation, it is a process of separating what is legal, what is legitimate, and what is, and those who are legitimate will be so recognized, and those who are illegitimate will be named, shamed. So it is not an outright abolition, as it were. No. I want you to be properly guided as to the intentions of the ministerial directive. For us to investigate this matter in a very scientific, in a very civilized,
methodology,
in a very the methodology that is acceptable, that is fair to everybody, because also you can't use a broad brush to paint everybody. That will be the greatest disservice that you can do. And government is very conscious of this. Government is trading on, that's why it's on a very cautionary, that's why it's an investigation. You'll be surprised what the outcome will be.
Because we have an insider on the hands of affairs.
Yes, exactly. The Minister of Education is an accomplished academic, a consummate university administrator, and he knows what the issues are. Actually, as a Vice Chancellor, as a former Director General of the Council for Legal Nigerian Law School, he knows about this. He's very familiar with these issues. And as a lawyer, as a senior advocate of Nigeria, it will amount to preemptory action for you to make a blanket statement, and that's why the investigation will take its full course.
Right.
And we hope that we will get the right answers and be properly guided as to the succeeding steps, succeeding months, and succeeding years. Ultimately, we want to uphold the sanctity of quality. We want to make sure that whatever comes out of Nigeria, whatever comes into Nigeria, and that's why, if you look at I'm sorry to take you to another matter, the transnational education. If you've been following, Nigeria has just consummated its guidelines on transnational education. Because my friend in the studio in Jos, the NGO, spoke about the huge gap between demand and supply. Absolutely a stark reality, a matter to do with our population dividend.
We'll let you talk on that, but let's quickly go on a break now. Let's take a break. When we come back, the conversation continues. Stay with us.
From the boardroom at the Broad Street in Lagos to the main street of Kano and Nembe Creeks in Bayelsa, I hear the groans of Nigerians who work hard every day to provide for themselves and their families. I'm not oblivious of the expressed and sometimes unexpressed frustrations of my fellow citizens. I know for a fact that some of our compatriots are even asking if this is how our administration want to renew their hope. Their compatriots. Take this from me. The time may be rough and tough. However, our spirit must remain unbowed because tough times never last. We are made for this period, never to flinch, never to falter. The socio-economic challenges of today should energize and rekindle our love and faith in the promise of Nigeria.
Nigeria, Africa's beauty on the Gulf of Guinea, blessed with natural landmass and wildlife reserve.
Nigeria, largest economy in Africa. Nigeria, famous accomplishments in entertainment and sports.
Nigeria, resourced with globally respected human capital.
Our uniqueness lies in our tenacity, our acumen a testament of our success.
At NTA, we are all forever proud to be the showcase channel of this positive energy and the reflection of the good in our nation.
The capacity to tell a nation's story will not have been possible without the support and patronage of the three arms of government.
Ministries, departments, agencies, corporate bodies, advertisers,
religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties,
and of course, you, our esteemed viewers.
Let's get set to make 2024
even greater together.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Nigeria means unity. Nigeria means freedom to me.
Nigeria means greatness to me.
Nigeria is indivisible. There is nothing you can do. We all have to savage it together and learn to love each other. We are indivisible. As a mother and a leader, I will always preach for peace and unity in this country, because that is the only thing that will give us progress.
Though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. And it is the woman that does that.
Welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. Our guests are still very much with us, and of course we're talking about the educational system in the country, and talking about foreign certificates and educational development in Nigeria. Let's get to Professor Tanko Ishaya now, the Vice Chancellor, University of Jos. You have also listened to the Executive Secretary of the NUC, and you've heard some of his comments, to some of the questions he has answered so far. I'm sure you want to respond to some, but my question to you at this point would be about a point raised by Dr. Emmanuel as regards the process, and then the number of universities we have, in comparison to our population. You are a Vice Chancellor. I would like you to speak to that. Do you really think that that's the problem, and that's why people are in a hurry to get certificates from just anywhere because our university system cannot accommodate them all? That's one. On the other hand, there's this recent news that has gone viral. I'm sure the NUC would respond to that, about fake professors. We have fake certificates, we have fake undergraduates, so if you like, fake graduates. And we now hear that we have fake professors. Professor Ishaya, is there some element of truth in that report? And then, how would you want to speak to universities, not being sufficient, and then the way admission process is done in this country being a problem?
Thank you very much. I think first of all, yes, I want to make a comment on the issue of access to education, considering our population. Like I said earlier on, of course, the issue of access has been a fundamental issue based on our population, and that is the reason why we have seen, a gradual increase in the number of universities in Nigeria, from 5 in 1962 to now 270 something, which is actually a great improvement. Having said that, when you also look at the number of graduates or the number of candidates who want to go to university every year, you will agree that the universities that will operate in Nigeria are probably not quite enough. I give you an example. Even in the University of Jos, for example, we have on average of about 50 to 70, candidates applying to look for a space, a space in the university, and we have just about 9 to 30 to 10,000, to be able to admit. So obviously, there's that issue of the access. But I think, and clearly, the issue of the number of universities, one could argue that we need more universities. But I think I can also argue that perhaps it's not just the number of universities that we need. We need to actually improve on our facilities. We need to improve on the facilities in the universities, especially the public universities, because that is actually one of the core challenges that we have heard, over the years. Because of course, the quality of Nigeria, one thing that I will clearly, and it is clearly agreeable to both the speakers this morning, is that we have a very good educational system. A very, very good educational system. But no doubt we will actually say in Nigeria, since we are now talking about the Nigerian education system, we can say that the Nigerian university system seems to have lost, has lost its esteem on the eyes of Nigerians, because there has been a considerable increase in the number of Nigerian students going abroad for further studies, in most cases because of the lack of access. In other cases, because of perhaps the perceived quality, and also perhaps the reason for maybe a reason for strikes, and therefore candidates will not go into Nigerian universities and graduate as at when due. Maybe those are some of the reasons, I believe. So those are some of the reasons why people actually go out to look for education. So there's that issue of access. And of course, it is because of the clear challenges that are facing the higher education system in Nigeria today. On one hand, academics can attribute the crisis facing the sector to inadequate funding, poor governance, lack of commitment and support for innovative research, and so on and so forth. Of course, on the other hand, citizens, private sectors, government at all levels bemoan the quality of graduates and research impact to some of the internal factors in the Nigerian university system. Some of these internal factors include, but not limited to, frequent interruption of academic calendar by university-based unions, their perceived poor visibility in the global arena as reflected probably in the rankings, and a lot of issues. Of course, the environment, the Nigerian environment itself is one of the challenge. We have seen a lot of the issues of insecurity at the moment. Now, when you talk about, when we used to have a lot of lecturers from outside, then you look at the working situation of the Nigerian university system now. A professor, for example, earns about 400 and something thousand. When you convert that into dollars, it's just about $300 or thereabout. It is difficult, therefore, to get someone from the UK, from US, from Canada, as your experience before and as our experience before, to come and work, with that kind of salary that they cannot even sustain. For instance, some of them may have gotten mortgages. They cannot even, the whole salary cannot, pay for their mortgages and so on and so forth. They can hardly buy an air ticket actually to go on holidays. So that's one reason why we're not, having the universities as a university, as a universe. And another thing, of course, is the issue of the way that Nigerian universities has recently been made to operate. Because in the last decade, there has been an acceleration of introduction of some of the policies and laws which have conflicted with the laws that have actually created universities and have curtailed their ability to function the way they are supposed to function. And of course, this created a very demoralized and frustrated workforce, a very demoralized system in general. You find that as far as the country is concerned, as far as universities are concerned, university laws are there to allow universities to operate optimally. But what we have seen at the moment is that the issue, for example, of autonomy, even though the autonomy, whenever we talk about autonomy, people misinterpret the whole concept of autonomy. The concept of autonomy, as far as Nigerian operations are concerned, is that the universities has a system that government also has designed, and the laws have actually provided that for it to function without any interference. But what we have seen today is a lot of interferences. One of the examples, for instance, is that you've seen most of the public universities for the past 3 or 2 years, for the past 3 years actually, most of the universities were not able to actually replace even the staff that they have lost. We have lost staff through debts, through retirements, through transfers, through a lot of other issues. But because of the system that the government has created, universities are unable to even replace. And of course, we know that the core mandate of universities is to produce new knowledge through research, and to produce new knowledge through research. And of course, we know that the core mandate of universities is to produce new knowledge through research, and to produce new knowledge through research. And of course, we know that the core mandate of universities is to produce new knowledge through research, and to produce new knowledge through research. critical thinking, and of course, an analysis of that existing knowledge for the improvement of the society. And therefore, human resource, the quality of manpower in university is very, very important. And that's one of the challenges that I think we need to address in this, as far as the university system is concerned. And I want to take this opportunity, of course, I believe on behalf of the university system, to appreciate again the government for understanding and even removing universities from IPPIS. For me, I believe that this government seems to have a clear understanding of the way that universities are supposed to operate. And in fact, even the exclusion of universities from the memos that we had with respect to 40% IGR remittances. Because universities are not IGR generating institutions. They are not IGR generating agencies. The universities are social services, and they are critical social services. And of course, universities to run a university is quite expensive to be able to run a university in order to provide that social but critical, service for the development of our nation. So those are some of the things that I just want to say with respect to the issue of access and with respect to the issue of globalization of our universities, and also with respect to the issue of the perceived or the perception that the quality of Nigerian university is degrading. On the issue of the fake professors, everybody has seen that social media information doing the rounds. I want to say that same information actually went around in 2019. The same information went around. And of course, even the number of staff or the names of those staff that are attributed to certain universities, I can clearly speak for University of Jos. All those names that are captured under the University of Jos, we don't know those staff at all. We don't have them. We don't have them in our books. So it is therefore really very, very worrying, that people can actually bring out names of people who they call fake professors. To become a professor, there's a very clear, process, for someone to actually become a professor. But like we said earlier on, in the midst of legality, there are people who want to perpetrate illegalities. There are people who want to just call themselves, professors, without even going through the process of their evaluation, the process of appointment, and the process of ensuring that actually they are professors. They just abrogate themselves with that name, professors. But I want to say that as far as the University of Jos is concerned, all those fake names that we have seen attributed to the university is not true. It's untrue. And I've seen a number of similar universities, public universities, coming out also to denounce.
Okay, Professor Tanko Ishaya, yes, you speak for the University of Jos, and the social media at times can just, just because the scandal of the foreign certificate broke out, they're now bringing out all the issues. Yes, I actually saw that list in 2019. Let's come to Dr. Emmanuel Ivogba. Dr. Emmanuel Ivogba, everything we've been discussing about on these foreign certificates, fake certificates and all that, all boils down to societal norms, degrading moral values in our society. These students can't go to these schools without the support of their parents. And when they come back with these degrees, the society accepts them. How do we begin to change the narrative here?
It's a very, very important question. I agree with you completely. Please permit me, before addressing that, let me emphasize on what the Prof just said in terms of the access and affordability. I think this is very, very important. If we have to deal with this issue, we need to go to the grassroots to look at the root. What are the factors that are causing this problem? So we talked about access earlier, and all of us agree on that point. So one of the things, I don't like focusing too much on the problems. I think finding solutions, this is the best way we should go forward. The problems are already there. If we dwell on that so much, we cannot move forward. So what do we do that we have identified these challenges? One, for the access, I think one of the things is there is a lot that the National Universities Commission and the Federal Ministry of Education needs to do in this area in terms of ensuring that young people have access to quality education in Nigeria. I've had the opportunity to visit the National Universities Commission just to make inquiries on what it takes to establish a university in Nigeria. I think the NUC has very, very strict requirements. I think some of these requirements need to be relaxed in order to make it possible for individuals who want to establish universities in Nigeria to be able to do that. I think one of the things I have seen is if you go around the universities you have, I think you see very, very big universities. This is contrary to what you find even in the Western world. You find one university offering practically all the courses on it. A university is offering law, is offering business, is doing communication. Whatever course you find on it is offered in practically all the universities that you find in Nigeria. I think this is a challenge itself. If the National Universities Commission makes it possible for individuals to establish is what I call specialized universities, so that you go to one university, just only one faculty or one department, a university that is focused on maybe training students in philosophy, and it is only philosophy you find in that university, nothing else. You go to another university, it's training young people in courses focusing on agricultural development. That is it. You go to another university, you find students training maybe in religion or whatever course. That will give room for a lot of universities to come up. And we see this happening if you go to the US, you see that in many places in Europe. We can do that here also. It is possible. Another suggestion I want to make also, and this is very, very clear in terms of the cost of university education here in Nigeria. And this is the reason why we have so many Nigerians going to places like Togo and Cotonou. I'll give you a very practical example. When this issue of the fake certificate came out, just in the last 1 week, I'm telling you the evidence is there. I was just able to reach out to find out for myself if this is true. And I was able to just get admission for PhD in 2 universities in these 2 countries that we are talking about, because I needed to make comparison to see if this is one of the reasons. Today, you can get a PhD. I'm sorry for mentioning names, but this is the fact. I want to be very, very careful because the NUC secretary said investigations are already on, so we should not say things that will affect the process of the investigation. But just in summary, you can obtain a PhD in Benin today at the cost of, let's say, minimum of between 1.5 million to 2 million for 2 years. 1.5 million to 2 million. It will cost you maybe 5 times more than that to obtain a PhD here in Nigeria for a minimum of 3 years. Sometimes some people spend up to 7 years to obtain a PhD. So sometimes the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of the cost of education. So if you will spend about 1.5 million for 2 years to get a PhD in Benin, you will spend practically less than that to get a bachelor's degree in Benin or Togo. So this is one of the reasons why young people are running away to these countries, which they shouldn't go at all. You know, the level at which we are in Nigeria, it's even very, very shameful to find young people going to this. They should be going to Europe, not to small countries like this. With Benin, 13 million. Maybe this is practically the population of 2 or 3 states here in Nigeria. And we find young people.
Dr. Evogba, I think would have to pause you at that point because of time. I just wish we'd have more time to talk about this. This is a very serious issue, and Dr. Evogba is actually bringing up a lot of issues really that need to be talked about. But let's just get to you now, Mr. Ameake, you know, just to, you can round off your thoughts from what the VC has said. Yes, from what the VC has said, and then from what Dr. Evogba has said. And then please, could you also respond? You said universities are being monitored. What about study centers? Is there some kind of monitoring too? Because we hear that that's where some of these, you know, issues come up from.
Well, thank you very much. I think as a result of this meeting, this engagement, a lot of issues have been highlighted once again. And I want to quickly talk about access. As I told you, the thing about Nigeria is the sheer population of Nigeria. When it comes to GSM, access to broadband, access to mobile communication, access to healthcare, access to this. Yeah. So, and if you look at the population bracket of Nigeria in juxtaposition with other countries, the US of A has 300 million. They have 5,000 universities. Brazil is about slightly below Nigeria. They have over 1,000 universities. Don't talk about China and India. They're in the 1 billion mark. And Indonesia, there are those large systems. What we need to do as a matter of deliberate policy is to enable, you know, public-spirited individuals, prospective promoters, to establish more universities. And as we establish more universities, we also tighten our regulatory ambit. And that's why the National Universities Commission will continue, you know, to consider new universities. My thought about the issue, I want to talk about the issue of fake professors, but I want to say that we are issuing a rebuttal today. It will address all the issues, the burning, you know, the issue that has continued to gain currency about fake professors. But I just want to say that the university subsector does not just want to exist. The universities want to function at full strength at all times, to be relevant, to be competitive, you know, because as you well know, universities, and I always quote one of the prime ministers of the United Kingdom.
Yes.
When the United Kingdom was exiting the Brexit, the popular Brexit, there was a lot of hue and cry. The country was divided along ideological lines. Up till date, that exit is a serious matter. But I just wanted to say that it was at that moment that the then Prime Minister of the United Kingdom boasted to the nation. She actually retorted that even if they were to lose everything, they will fall back on their university system to reinvent the country. And that's to underpin the pivotal role that universities will play and will continue to play through the tripod functions of research, teaching, and community action.
Okay, Chris Meyaki, Acting Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission. I'm sure that this is a continuing conversation. Thank you so much for coming. And from via Zoom, Professor Tanko Ishaya, Vice Chancellor, University of Jos, joined us on the program. Thank you so much for your insight into the topic today. And Dr. Emmanuel Ande Evogba, Education Thematic Lead, Executive Director, Center for Faith and Community Development. We appreciate your insight into our conversation this morning. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the program. I am Jummai Yusuf.
And I'm Henry John. Do have a great day ahead.